Hi everybody, and welcome back to day number 4 of the Conscious Masculinity Intensive. Yesterday we started to do a deep dive into our beliefs about masculinity, and this is really just a process of starting to bring awareness and even just free associating about what our masculinity origin stories are. What are these ideas that we carry about this pretty abstract concept of masculinity and how it relates to gender, identity, and so much more. Tomorrow, we're going to start diving into really an overall framework for understanding gender and getting clear on what some progressive and modern definitions of all these concepts are, actually starting to operationally define masculinity and gender for ourselves. But it's important for us to just continue to bring some awareness to what we're already bringing into this conversation, getting clear on what we're carrying with us before we start to redefine things. So yesterday we did this belief inventory, which is a really powerful way to start getting clear on our relationship to masculinity. But one of the things that we didn't do yesterday is get very much into the feelings behind the beliefs. And I'm sure this came up for a bunch of you, starting to notice, wow, it's really emotional to think about the origin of this belief. Or, wow, I'm writing down, in order to be a man, I can't express myself. Or if I'm not masculine enough, my dad won't want to spend time with me. Intense things like that that have really deep core memories attached to them and really deep feelings attached to them as well. And one of the reasons why these beliefs are so deeply conditioned within us is because at some point our brain decided that that is what we needed to believe in order to stay safe. So there's this implicit or else on the end of all of these core masculinity beliefs, right? Boys don't cry, or else, right? Whether that's the threat or the experience of physical violence or simply the social violence of isolation, which for our evolutionary animal brains is really just the threat of being kicked out of the group, which means death. And anyone knows that feeling of that sort of gut punch when you feel like you're being kicked out of the group. It feels like some part of you is dying. It's like, oh my God, I need air, I need water. It hits you in that really deep way. And so we want to have some compassion for the fact that these beliefs exist deeply within us for a reason. And there's a part of us who has been repeating them on autopilot because it wants us to stay safe. It's like, this is what we need to do. This is what we need to believe in order to stay safe in this world. But the beauty is that we are all joining together, person by person, community by community, to build a world where we can be safe with a new set of beliefs. And in order to do that, we want to spend a little bit more time honoring the wound. So we're going to go through a technique now that's going to help us deal with the feelings and the core traumatic experience behind a belief formation. And let's take that classic belief that boys shouldn't cry, right? Or real men don't express their emotions. That's a really dominant one in our society today. And what you want to do is, looking at your belief list, pick one of them, whichever one resonates the most or stands out to you, and take a look at it and get quiet with yourself in the way that you would in a meditation, taking a deep breath, making sure that you feel safe in the place that you're in, and simply asking yourself, when did I learn that this was true? When's the first time I heard this? And allowing whatever memory comes up to surface, right? This may be something big or small. It may just be a fragment of a movie that you watched one time, but whatever shows up, allowing that memory to arise as the answer, that gut level answer to the question, when is the first time I heard this? When did I learn that this was true? And so once you see this memory, we're going to use 2 different tools to work with the energy there. The premise here is that if we fully feel the feelings and we create a new experience of the memory, then we're going to be able to shed that emotional weight and be able to more easily create a new belief and not have that old fear running on autopilot in our subconscious. So the first step is truly to feel your feelings. You may find yourself immersed back in the energy of your inner child. You may feel like, I'm 6 years old and I'm pissed and I'm throwing stuff or I'm crying or whatever it is. You may actually feel a little bit separate from it. I know that's how I have often felt when doing this work, it's more like I'm my adult self and I'm looking at my inner child and I'm actually in a dialogue with him and I'm saying, hey, it's okay for you to tell me how you feel in this situation. Like what he said was really not okay. And I really want you to know that it's okay for you to tell me how you feel, and allowing that emotional expression to come forward and just holding space for it. In today's day and age, with all the technology that we have, it can feel really simple to be like, yeah, you literally just need to set the timer for 5 minutes and feel angry for that period of time, and that's going to do wonders for your experience of this world. But it really is truly transformational if you think about how quickly we go to other stimuli when we're feeling upset now. Even if you sit on the couch for a minute or two and you feel really angry, right? Then you start to reach for the phone, then you start to reach for whatever it is that you're putting between yourself and presence. So even giving yourself a small amount of time to witness that core emotion that was denied you as a young child in this situation where you were being told something that was fundamentally untrue about your experience of the world, it's incredibly powerful. So you can simply sit there almost like in a meditation and just let the feelings wash over you, identify them. Wow, I'm feeling really angry. And even talking to yourself, like, I'm so angry. I'm so angry. I can't believe he said that to me. Or I'm really sad. Like, I wish that my dad had been nicer to me. Like, I deserve a nice dad. Whatever emotions start to come up, allowing them to move through you. And if it feels overwhelming, what you can do, there are a couple of different ways that you can work with it. You can simply identify, yeah, this is a memory that I'd like to work on, and I'm going to set my timer for 5 minutes every day, or just for 5 minutes today, and I'm just gonna feel angry today because that's the primary emotion that's coming forward. I'm just gonna set a timer for 5 minutes, I'm gonna punch a bunch of pillows, I'm gonna write a really angry letter, whatever it is, that I'm gonna be angry for 5 minutes, and then I'm gonna have a seltzer or whatever and go for a walk, and I'm gonna, just pat myself on the back for having done even that today. And one of the other ways that you can work on expressing the feelings is through letter writing. This is probably something that you've heard before. It's just simply allowing that self who's in that memory, that core memory, allowing yourself to write that letter to the person who transmitted that belief to you and letting it out. And you may find that your adult self wants to write back and say, yeah, it's completely valid that you feel this way. I'm really sorry he told you this, but you should know that you don't have to feel that way anymore. So the first part is just simply feeling the feeling. There's this beautiful quote that I love that says something like, an emotion fully felt is the funeral pyre of that feeling. So it's this idea that if we just fully surrender to a feeling, we can move through it so much more quickly. It's that fear of the full expression that keeps us stuck, and it keeps us stuck in that place of repeating the old cycle. So part one is feeling the feeling, and then part two, in this visualization of the memory, is bringing in loving energy and changing the dynamic in some way. If you've ever seen the Harry Potter movies or read the Harry Potter books, there's this magical creature known as a boggart that any person who stands in front of it, it takes the form of their greatest fear. And the way that they have to get rid of the boggart is basically by revealing the fear to be unfounded. So one of the characters terrified of spiders, and so the spider looms over him and then he pictures it in roller skates. And then the being dissipates, right? Because it's sort of been, the fear has been revealed to be untrue. And so you get to sort of model and mold your reality in this moment. This isn't about lying to yourself and saying, oh, that didn't happen, but giving yourself the relief of removing the negative stimuli. So this often looks like calling in really beautiful, golden or white light into the situation, and as your adult self, standing in between the person who harmed you and yourself. And whether it's you or a fictional character, I guess since we're on the Harry Potter thread, someone like Albus Dumbledore, or even if you're a little bit more spiritual, thinking about archangels and things like that, that energy coming in and taking away lovingly, but removing the person who's been doing the harm to you, and then giving you the space to almost get down on the level of your inner child and say, I'm so sorry that happened to you, it's really not okay. And letting your inner child tell you what it feels like it needs in order to feel complete in the situation. And this may even just mean that you're like sitting there on the floor in your mind and you're like, yes, we can totally go sit in a treehouse and eat ice cream sundaes after this. I'm really sorry that happened to you. And it can feel cheesy to talk it out like this, But the power of this visualization cannot be underestimated because memories are mutable things. And when we go back and we give ourselves the love that we didn't receive in that moment, despite the intentions. And that's the other thing that we can acknowledge. The person that has quote unquote done harm to you in this situation may have thought that that was the most loving thing possible. Some of the most homophobic things that my parents said to me, I know they said it to me because they were terrified that they were going to have a kid that was gay or queer in some way, and who would then have to deal with the horrors of the world that they saw as all the bad things that would happen to you if you weren't heterosexual. And so some of the things that they said to me came out of this place that they felt was loving. It was fear-based, but they acted in a desire to protect me in the same way that that conditioning to don't cry, right? You're gonna get in trouble if you cry, is passed down in order mistakenly to keep boys or masculine people safe. So we can bring that loving witness as well. It doesn't mean taking away the bad guy in handcuffs. It simply means bringing in the love that didn't exist in that situation. And so that's your homework for today, to do this with at least one of those beliefs. Say, when is the first time I learned this? Who taught this to me? And to go back in your mind, allow yourself to feel all the feelings that you weren't allowed to feel in that moment, and allow yourself to bring loving and soothing into that situation, and simply bring awareness to how this experience goes for you, because how it shows up for you is going to give you lots of really good information about what you need to support you moving forward, because this is going to be an ongoing process. So good luck diving into the bowels of your memories. This is where those images of your masculinity inspirations can be really, really helpful. So I know for me, when I'm feeling really like, oh my God, I don't know if I can go into this memory right now, channeling that energy, almost imagining myself as someone like Aragorn or as someone like Wayne Dyer or whoever else you're calling in, whatever other energy you feel resonant with, imagining what would this person do if they were faced with this big challenge and they knew that by doing this hard thing, they were going to get where they wanted to go, calling on that energetic support, and then also referring back to your support system map from day number 2 and starting to reach out to people. You may find at the end of this, you want to simply reach out to someone and say, hey, I just did this exercise and it was intense, or this is what it brought up for me, and I just wanted to tell you a little bit about it. Or is this something that you've experienced as well? Do you resonate with this? Whatever it is, allowing yourself to lean into that support. It may also simply be making sure that you're really well hydrated and that you give yourself a break from any other external stimuli. You know, putting down your phone for a little bit, spending some time in nature, taking a nap, whatever it is, honoring the fact that you're doing deep work, even though it's just happening quote unquote in your mind. It's really, really deep and profound, and it's laying the foundation for all of the external work that we're going to build towards. So I'm really sending you all a lot of love and honoring you for taking this step. As usual, check in with the group, let people know how you're doing, and if you feel moved to, share online using the hashtag Conscious Masculinity Crew, and I will see you tomorrow for day number 5.